Okay, it's been about a couple months since I talked about Live at the BBC. Thank you all for sticking with me, who's ever subscribed to my channel, and who's ever just passing through. If you're just passing through, please hit subscribe. What we're going to talk about today, and what I'm going to review today, is the 50th anniversary of A Hard Day's Night. The movie, not the album. The album is a masterpiece. I always thought it was their first masterpiece, and I'm glad I found some other people out there that agree with me on that. But we're not going to talk. We're going to talk about the movie today. We're going to talk about the new Blu-ray release of this. Now, if you don't know about A Hard Day's Night or what the film is about, stop right now. Go to Netflix and rent it, or if it's available for streaming, stream it, or just order the new Blu-ray edition from Amazon. This is the new Blu-ray from Amazon, A Hard Day's Night, by the Beatles, of course, directed by Richard Lester, the great Richard Lester. This was released by Criterion. And when I first heard Criterion was actually going to be doing this, I was excited. Massively excited. I was like, if there's a company that's going to do justice by this film, it's going to be Criterion. As you can see, I am a huge film fanatic, and this is just one section here. And I have a history of liking Criterion stuff. This is my copy of Luchino Visconti's The Leopard. Beautiful film. Anyways, I knew Criterion would do justice by this because they have a love of film, they have a love of everything that's important with film, and they have a love of music films. There's a great Blu-ray that I have down here of Gimme Shelter, the Rolling Stones film about Altamont Speedway that came out. So I was excited, and they really did not disappoint, and I'll get to that here. A Hard Day's Night as a film has kind of a weird, not really too weird, but a release history where the rights have changed hands over the years. Now, as you know, it was financed by United Artists, and the main reason why United Artists wanted to do a Beatles film at the time was because they wanted to sell a soundtrack album. But the film became a commercial hit, and also a critical hit, which nobody expected. Nobody expected this film to be a critical hit. Roger Ebert himself has put this up there with some of the best musicals ever made. He's put it up there with MGM's Singing in the Rain. And I don't disagree with Roger Ebert on that. I really do not. It's unlike the Elvis films that have come out, they did not make this as a cheap exploitation film. Well, it kind of was, but the Beatles had a smart writer, a smart director. The Beatles were not playing characters like Elvis, and it was kind of like a day in the life of the Beatles. But it had a weird rights history. In the 80s, I think in 1982, Universal got a hold of it. And they spruced it up, they put a new Dolby stereo soundtrack to it, and they did something rather unnecessary to the film. Totally unnecessary to the film. They added a prologue with the song I'll Cry Instead. A prologue of stills and cleverly edited where the image would be ripped like a picture, and then beneath that would be another image. But it was totally unnecessary. And as far as the Dolby stereo sound, it was essentially a mono film, but when the songs came in, they just ripped the stereo mixes from, it sounded like the records, basically. But that was the basis for the MPI home video that came out in the 80s and was even reissued in the 90s, as well as the MPI DVD that came out during the beginning stages of DVD. And in 2000, Miramax got the rights. I don't know how Miramax got the rights, but Miramax got the rights, and they felt, okay, well maybe we can do a new restoration with this thing. The DVD was okay for the time, got you through it. The bonus features on the DVD I wasn't too thrilled with. They were okay, but I wanted the You Can't Do That PBS special that came out with Phil Collins narrating. The rights changed hands again. Janus Films, which is the theatrical division of Criterion, they got a hold of the right. Finally, I could say A Hard Day's Night has been represented correctly on home video. Finally, they did right by it. They did a full-on restoration of this thing. It wasn't just taking a preserved negative that was in halfway decent shape, scanning it, and putting it up there. They did a full-on 4K digital restoration. Now, how they did it gets kind of technical, but what you have to understand about A Hard Day's Night is that the original negative is kind of a problematic negative. The first and last reels of the film. The first reel, which is the train ride, the last reel, which is the concert, those two reels have been lost. They have been lost. Nobody knows what happened to them. They've only been available in dupe negatives from here on out. But everything else in them remains intact. So they went to the original 35mm camera negative for a good chunk of the film. They were able to restore this using a dupe print, a 35mm interpositive, look it up, from the first reel and last reel. Everything else remains intact that they went from the original 35mm camera negative. So this is the best it has looked. It's a true restoration. Great thing if you're a Beatle fan, or if you're just a film fanatic in general. Special feature on here that I'm glad they included was the Walter Shenson produced 1994 documentary You Can't Do That, The Making of A Hard Day's Night, which premiered on PBS in '94, and Phil Collins actually hosts it. Roger Ebert's in there, Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits are in there, jeez, and it's a great documentary, and plus a lot of the special features from the previous DVD from Miramax have carried over to here as well. Any Beatard should have this. This is the film that took the Beatles to the next level, as well as the album too, but as the film created the myth about the Beatles and their personalities, as well as the album. But this also put Dick Lester on the map too. This put Richard Lester on the map. If you haven't seen any of his other films outside of the Beatles films, I recommend you do that. And now my 2-year-old Harrison is going to get into the mix. Do you like A Hard Day's Night, Harrison? You like A Hard Day's Night. Okay. You were just saying A Hard Day's Night a few moments ago. Well, thank you for watching. I'm going to watch A Hard Day's Night with my 2-year-old son, Harrison.